Hello friends, welcome to the Touchpoint. Please join us in just a few minutes of your time for our 15th episode of Gospel Realities, entitled, Why Is It All About His Story? Minister from your heart. This is one of the beautiful lines I got from a gospel preacher who visited our school. She came to our school to give some lectures on preaching. Along with the biblical and practical principles of preaching, it was this line that resonated with me the most. Let me share with you the story of the Samaritan woman at the well. This is an encounter in which Jesus broke two common social taboos. One is to speak to the Samaritan, and the other is to speak to a woman. Jesus could have taken any other route, but on that day, he decided to meet this woman at a well. The woman was on a mission. Her story is a big part of it, but it is not her story. It was someone else's story. It was a story that made her confess her faith that Jesus was the Messiah. Because Jesus confessed to her, I who speak to you am Jesus. And the best ending to this story is in John chapter 4, verses 39 to 42. Then many in the village of Samaria believed in Jesus because of the testimony of the Samaritan woman at the well. This is exactly what we mean by preaching from the heart. But it wasn't the woman's terrible past that convinced people. It wasn't how she was lost and how she was found. It was not the story of the woman, but the story of Jesus. It was the story of the coming Messiah who would break down all cultural barriers so that they too would have the right to the kingdom. They were convinced by the words of Christ spoken through a woman. They were convinced that in Jesus, all would be able to worship in spirit and truth, not only in Jerusalem, where they could never go. Friends, it was Jesus' words of hope, acceptance, and inclusion, validation, and affirmation that broke their hearts and believed. The Samaritans has lived a life of proving themselves and their worth as a part of the children of God. The Jews have always treated them low because of their religious standing, but the message of hope broke their hearts and believed in Jesus. Yes, my friends, when we serve from the heart, not with our lives, but with the life of Jesus and the hope of Jesus, it will be a different story. It will be the story of Jesus. This woman did not need any theological training. She didn't need any training because she just needed to know what her world needed. And that was the hope of the Messiah. That's what you may have too. You may only have who Jesus is to you. Just as desperate and rejected as the woman is the nation she represents, Samaria. She knows what it feels like to be an outcast. She knows very well how it feels to be looked upon by people as a dirty sloth. Yes, the way the Jews look at them is exactly the same as the way her countrymen looked at her. And when she finally found that hope of acceptance, she was immediately healed and could not keep her story of hope in Christ to herself. It didn't matter what people said about her as she recounted this encounter with the Messiah. It didn't matter if she was rejected or looked away, because the one who had her soul had accepted her with all his heart. Friends, just like this woman, God can use you and what you have been through to be a channel of hope for those who are darkened by the same cloud that covers your life. You can use your prison to be a channel of hope for other prisoners. You can use where you are to tell His story, not yours. Minister from your heart. Pass on the light of Christ's salvation story. Friends, it is my prayer that you will continue to discover the great depth and the great heights of God's love for you. Jesus is waiting. You can give your broken life to Jesus today. Hope you will join us again next time in our journey of discovering the gospel realities. This is Bethel from the Touchpoint. In Christ, the story of our broken lives would become a beautiful canvas of His grace.